Ever get that feeling where you put something in, but you know you're probably gonna have to take it back out? I got that feeling. I put this starter in, it aligned, but it didn't align all that great. And then it just all of a sudden aligned really well. I don't know. I just got that feeling. If you already know what's about to happen, then, you know, it's a little foreshadowing for you, but I don't know right now. And I just got that feeling that
Need the rubbers for the windows. That's what we can use.
deal. So here we go. See what it looks like. And it looks
Welcome to week 3.5, meaning we haven't quite hit that 120-hour marker. And so I wanted to share with you guys the updates that are happening right now, as well as the hours and the money spent on this coupe to fastback transformation. So right now we're gonna jump into a TKX 5-speed installation. Let's jump into it. All right, so now we're going to attempt to simplify a TKX runout or bell housing indexing. So basically what this is centering your transmission inside of the bell housing. Tremec won't validate the warranty unless this procedure is done. So it's a super important procedure to do. First, you're going to want to grab a micrometer and a magnetic base. A link in the description if you need one of those. Make sure that your flywheel and then your bell housing are attached with this. You're going to want to center that magnetic base and the micrometer inside edge of your bell housing. After all that's in place, you're ready to move on to the next step. Next, you're going to want to mark a reference mark on the bell housing. It doesn't matter where you start. Make that mark and then set your micrometer at 0. After that, you're going to make a full 360 rotation. It doesn't matter counterclockwise, clockwise. Make that full rotation, and then if you fall at 0, you're ready to move on to the next step. And that next step is you're going to find your most positive number. You're going to turn that engine around and that micrometer around until you find that most positive number. It may take you a couple of times, and that's okay. Once you find it, then you're going to want to mark that positive number. And what I did is I wrote the actual number on the bell housing. From there, you're going to make a mark 180 from that most positive number, and then take your micrometer on a trip over there. Once you get to that 180 marker, you're going to want to take a note of what number you see on that micrometer. It can be a negative number, that's okay. Mine was a negative 28 thousandths. I took that number and then you divide it by 2, and that will give you your total runout, your total index. In my case, I needed a 1.4 thousandths offset pin. Evidently, they have pins for everything. Next, I indexed those offset pins to the 430 marker so that I could offset that most positive number that we found. All right, so now we have the flywheel. The blocking plate here is attached. We are going to insert our offset pins and get this thing zeroed out again, or do the run out test again. Fingers crossed it'll all read out per spec and we'll be good to go. So let's go ahead and put those offset pins in. Inserted like that. Now the beauty of these is they are hex on this side, so you can take a Allen key and direct them to which in the 5 o'clock direction. Before you stab that transmission in, measure your offset, and then inside the box that your transmission came in, there's a piece of paper that you can indicate your total run out after all of the modifications have been made. Tremec will validate your warranty. After that, I was ready to add my clutch and my bell housing. If you're not using a hydraulic system and you're using a cable clutch like I am, one tip that I could give is adding a ratchet strap and compressing clutch. That way you can release a little tension off of that clutch plate and align that clutch plate really precisely. And then you're ready to stab that TKX in a very good position and centered all the way around.
Tightening these up in a crisscross pattern so I can get this evenly put on. I have not bled the brakes yet, but before I bleed the brakes, I'm going to install this dude, and that will be the clutch quadrant. Well, that will be the clutch cable mechanism to help adjust the clutch cable from outside the car, you know what I mean, from under the hood. You don't have to go underneath there and adjust it manually. So let's go ahead and get this thing installed. Well, that feels like progress. right, so now we're gonna give a little juice to the electric steering. 3 wires. You got your ignition, you got your ground, and then you got your black positive. I know, yeah, but I just didn't want a ugly red wire going all the way up to the engine bay, so I decided to go with a black one. So anyway, this is exhausting. Let's get this done. All right, she's fueled up. Let's see if she starts. All right, now let's see if we can get some fuel leaks. I would much rather have a fuel leak than like no fuel come to the carb at all. So I'm gonna give the carb a little drink, and we're gonna try to get this thing started. Fingers crossed here. Well, that was good.
So I began week 3 having spent $11,260. I added a rear differential and some axles for $975. We added the TKX transmission, the bell housing, the flywheel, the clutch, the Mustang Steve clutch cable conversion. We added some fluid for a couple $100 and a Tough Stuff 130 amp alternator. Definitely worth it, by the way. And then my personal favorite, the Crossflow aluminum radiator for $217, totaling $16,196. Now for the time spent. Came into week 3 having spent 55 hours. I spent 4 hours installing the rear diff and axles and brakes. Spent 5 hours on freshening up that 289, 1 hour bleeding the brakes, could have been a lot more. 1 hour of Mustang Steve clutch cable conversion, and 5 hours installing that TKX, and then 4 hours with the engine accessories, 1 hour with the fuel pump to carb AN lines, and then the 2 hours on the new radiator fitting and installing, for a total of 78 hours spent so far.
All right, guys, I have a complete mess. I'm gonna clean this up. I wanna thank you so much for following along. This has been so much fun. We got this thing running. Now it's bodywork time, and let's get into that next step. Let's get to it.